Hello and welcome to another video tutorial brought to you by noxtt.com, enabling organizations through technology. This one is going to be a lengthy video. It's going to be a mammoth task. We're moving from zero to a full website. And when I say zero, I mean zero. There's no web server, there's no Apache, there's no PHP, there's no MySQL. You have nothing except access to an AWS console. In this video, we'll demonstrate how to move from zero to a fully deployed website on AWS. We're starting off with nothing, no server, zero, and finish off with a fully functional Joomla website. We won't be installing SSL for this video. That was covered in a previous video at this location. The site will render using both root and alias domain. This means www and the normal domain. Our domain is testec2.com. The domain will resolve to the Joomla sample website running on an Ec2 instance. We're going to use an Ansible playbook to install a LAMP stack and configure the Apache Conf file as well as our document root. We're going to have to do some touch-ups, some minor configurations to the Ansible playbook we get from the Git repo, and we'll look into that. Given that we're using Ansible locally for local hosts, there's no need for the official Ansible setup, whereby we have to create the Ansible user and then assign sudo privileges to the Ansible user using sudo. So we wouldn't need all of that because this is a local host install. So very quickly, the basic steps, deploy EC2, map the IP address to the new EC2 IP, map the IP address to the domain, pull the Git, install Ansible, pull the Git repo down, modify the playbook, run that playbook, make some changes to the MySQL database so that the Joomla install will work, create a database for the Joomla install, make some modifications to the Apache configs and PHP INI. The Apache configs will stop directory browsing. The playbook has some configurations to do that within the conf file, but it doesn't work, so we have these additional changes to make. I guess you can test it out without making the changes and see if it works for you. We download the latest Joomla framework. We unpack the files to our document root. We then go back in the browser. Hopefully DNS will be running by then. We install the website. We make an edit to that website to ensure that it's ours and it's working. So these are some of the technical terms, Ansible playbook, AWS, Joomla, LAMP stack, AWS administration, etc., etc. Assumptions: you have access to the AWS console and can create an EC2 instance. 2, you can make DNS changes to a domain name and create 2 new A records. So that is it. We're moving from zero to full website deployment. It's 15:32. I have everything in a notepad, so let's get started. So we're going to first create an EC2 instance. So we go into our console, we look for EC2. It's a compute resource. Let's hope the internet doesn't slow us down. We have no instances running, so we're going to have to create one from scratch. We want a Ubuntu instance. We'll take this one. We're not going to attach any storage. This is going to be ephemeral in nature. Review and launch. We would want to edit our security groups. I have one that allows, that's perfect for this. That's default. So that's it. We can launch. We're going to use an existing key pair. And that's it. Our EC2 instance has been created. Next, we have to go and set the DNS. That's right, and hope things propagate. So we go in here, it's still pending. Let's hope it can move a little faster. Initializing. Excellent. Well, it's running, so it should have a public address, and there it is. So we're going to take this public address, we're going to create a domain record first. This is the E record. Time to live will be 1 hour. Now I'm going to hit update. I'm going to add this DNS entry. I'm just going to pause the video and bring up the www entry. So here we go. I just did the root domain. This is the www. So I'm going to add this DNS entry. I'm going to hit pause, and when we come back, we'll be back on the Ec2 instance. So we're back on our Ec2 instance. Given our, we have to now log into our Ec2 instance and run some commands. Let me just have it side by side. Might be a bit easier. So we're gonna get into our instance. Just pull this. Okay, that's better. Ubuntu is the user, but I don't have the DNS name. Here we go. Yes. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is update our Ubuntu instance. And we're going to upgrade it as well. Sudo apt upgrade y. You'll see that the next phase is to install Python. This may not be necessary, but I'm doing it just in case. There's a warning when we run the Ansible playbook about Python, but I'm not so sure it's really due to Python. I think something else is giving that error, but it's not really an error. It's just a warning, so we can work with it. So this is running for the purpose of saving time on the length of the video. I may go into pause even though it's saying 97%. It should be done. Okay, there we go. Sudo apt get install Python y. Then we're going to install Python apt. Okay, so far so good. Now it's time to install Ansible. I'm not going to type this out. Just going to pull this. So this is going to pull the Ansible, pull and configure the Ansible repository so that we can install Ansible. And next we're going to make some edits to the hosts. So when we run our playbook, it's going to run that playbook on localhost, on the Ec2 instance we have right here. Of course, with Ansible, you know, you can do that on multiple servers, but we're only running localhost. So we're going to sudo into that host file now. Gonna go to the bottom of the file. Then we're just gonna put in this edit. So this is gonna be our group. Local server. Then we're gonna add local host Ansible underscore connection equal. So it's localhost Ansible underscore connection equal local. This is for the group, inventory group local server. Localhost Ansible underscore local. So let's just write and quit out of that. Alright, so what's next on our list? We're just gonna check our Ansible inventory and see if we see our local server there. There we are, local server, so it's there. Then we're gonna ping our local server just to make sure that our Ansible is working correctly. So we're going to use Ansible. We're going to ping the local server, and we're pinging it as Ubuntu. You can also use root. Success. So we're good to go there. Let's just do one more test. We're going to run an ad hoc command to do a df on this server. And there we go. That works just fine. So now it's time to pull down our playbook. Our Git repo. We are in Ubuntu home directory. So this is the repo, and we are concerned with the LAMP Ubuntu 1804. Even though it says 1804, which will give you the impression it's for Ubuntu 18 OS, this works just fine on 20 with some slight modifications. So let's just go into the file and we head into the vars to make some modifications. So we're gonna, this is where you specify your root password for the MySQL database. I'm just gonna put password. I'm gonna leave this as Ubuntu. Our domain is gonna be test ec2. testec2.com is the domain, and we want our conf file as testec2. That's it. So that's it there for our vars or variables. testec2.com is the host, and testec2.conf is the conf file. So we'll write and quit out. So that's done there. Now it's time to make some edits to the playbook itself. So in this Ansible playbook, to install Joomla or most other content management systems, we don't have all the packages that we need. So we're going to make an adjustment right here in this loop. So it stops at lib2 Apache mod, and we're going to find that right here, and we're going to run, we're going to copy and paste everything right down. So we come back here, Control Shift V. So we're going to add, PHP 7.4 GD, XML, all this good stuff. And that is it for modifying the playbook. So we're going to write and quit out of that as well. We're going to run the playbook, but we're going to do a dry test or a dry run to make sure there's nothing wrong. We don't mind warnings. What we don't want are errors. And we have to run this within the folder that your playbook resides. So we're just going to do a check, run this Ansible playbook. Again, because we have the -- check, it's just going to check the syntax, make sure we have nothing that's going to break the installation, ensure that the whole LAMP stack will install. It gives a warning about Python, but we install Python. I'm not too sure why that warning is happening. I guess you could you can dig into the playbook yourself and see if you can find out why it's given that warning. But for now, this should work, and this is a dry run. I may pause the video. Okay, so it's finished. As you can see, it has a warning. Module did not set no log for update. Has something to do with Python, but it's okay. So we can remove the check and now run our playbook for real. So this is not a dry run, this is not a check. We're running the playbook on our local server. Our Ec2 instance that we just created. Once that is done, we have to run into MySQL quickly and remove the login type for root so that Joomla will work fine with MySQL and we'll get no errors. So we'll see how that works. Again, all this was highlighted in the dry run. I may just pause the video for the purposes of length, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, the warning is still here, but all our packages installed. So now it's time to dive into MySQL and make some edits. So we're gonna sudo MySQL, the user is root, and we're gonna ask for the password. Now the sudo is important. If you don't use the sudo, your password is not going to work. So let's just run this command here, and I'll quickly highlight what I'm talking about with certain changes. So let me just widen this a bit. You'll see that the root has auth socket, and this auth socket will cause a problem when logging in from a browser or from an external application. So we need to change that auth socket to MySQL native password. I'm just gonna change that out. So when we run it again, you will see that we altered it. It's now MySQL native password. So that was successful. We now flush privileges. And exit. So that's it for the MySQL. Now it's time to go into our document root that the Ansible playbook would have created for us. Everything is already created using Ansible. So let's cd into var, and there's our test ec2. There's nothing here. So let's just touch an info.php file. And let's just go into it. PHP, and we're going to do PHP info. Closing braces should not be necessary, but I'll just leave it there. So we edited our PHP info file. Let's see if that works. So let's restart Apache using system controller, Apache 2 restart, systemctl, and let's just make sure it's running. Yep. So let's go back to our IP address and let's see what happens if we paste this in info.php. There we go. So this is the path of our PHP ini file. I believe it's the same as in our notes. Yes, so we have to make an edit to this file. Let's see, PHP 7.4. So we're going to look for upload max file size. We're going to change that to 64. Remove that 2. Oh no, upload max file size is supposed to be 720. Sorry about that. Upload max file size 720. Next we're going to look for post max file size, and that's going to be 64. Post max file size 64. Then we're going to look for memory limit. Memory limit has to be 1024. Insert 1024 M. Next thing we're looking for, that's the memory limit. Max execution. Insert, that has to be 180. Okay, that's good. And last but not least, we're looking for max input time. That has to be 180 as well. Okay, so we're going to write and quit out. So next we have to, what do we have to make index first default file? Yes, we have some changes in our Apache configurations. So let's make those changes now. So we're going into Ec Apache 2 mods available. This is the configurations for the directory, so that we don't have to type in index.php. It's going to come up first. It's going to look for that file as the first default file instead of the HTML. So we just put that in there and put it in front the HTML. Right, so we're going to write and quit out of that, and then we're going to modify the conf file to ensure that we cannot browse a directory. So we're going to look for www, next, and there we go. Insert. We're just going to remove the indexes. So it's just going to be options, follow some links. Let's come back here, escape, write and quit out. So let's restart our Apache server. Sudo systemctl restart Apache 2. I always like to ensure that it's running and we don't have any warnings on the restart. So everything was good. So now what we're going to do is download the latest Joomla file. So let's get to that. I guess we can just go straight to 3.925. Download now. I'm just going to copy that link, go back in our SSH, and we want up to BZ2 because this is the gunzip file. Then we're going to use tar to extract and verbose mode the file, and we want to pack that to our document root, which is testec2.com. remember that testec2.com is a variable in our Ansible playbook. So we're unpacking everything there, and once we unpack, we then have to run this command to ensure that the ownership plays well with Apache. So if we were to go testec2 and do a detail list, and you'll see it says Ubuntu root. This is the user, and this is the group. This is the owner, and this is the group. We want it to be dub data. So what we're going to do is just change that. We're doing this change ownership of www-data for both the user and the group, and we want it done recursively and for all the files. So testec2.com. So let's make sure that took place, because we can double check it right here. Right, it says data, and when we go in, we can do the same thing, and everything here is data. So it looks like things are pretty much set. Let's go back and check to see how well DNS propagation is going. So these sites, what's my DNS.net and dnschecker.org, you can use to test your propagation. So when I put in the domain name, which is testec2 or www.testec2.com, I'm supposed to get this IP address if the propagation goes well. So testec2.com, search. It's taking a bit. Let's do the root domain here. Search 3139.59.87, 3139.59.87. Okay, this came up 3139.59.87, and that's our IP. We can use dig to make sure that this is propagating well. If it doesn't show up in dig, we'll see what we could do. Oh, great, it shows up. So this is why I decided to configure the DNS at the very start, because sometimes the propagation just takes time. So as you can see, it's not fully propagated. It's probably still going. 33139. So the www is fine, but not the testec2. That's an old IP. So we'll work with the www. There's one thing I believe we did not do. It should have been in our little notes here. I don't think we created the database to work with Joomla. So we have to do that. MySQL root p. You must create a database in order for a content management system to work. Create database Joomla. Show databases. Joomla is there, so we can exit. So now when we go into our browser and hit testec2.com, our Joomla installation should come up. Oh, but this says HTTPS. We don't have an HTTPS site, we just have HTTP. It keeps defaulting to HTTPS. Let me see if I take off the www. If it doesn't stop that, we'll have to use the IP address. So while this is loading, let me just see what happens if I load incognito mode. And I think it's best I put HTTP to let the browser know it's HTTP I want. Okay, so that's taken a bit, but it has showed up here. Let me see if I can get it to show up for the www. Right, so it's HTTP we want. No, it hasn't showed up for the www, but it does show up for the tests. Again, this is DNS propagation, so we'll just quickly go ahead with the install. 0 to 100. Test AW site. Full deployment, we'll just use a fake email for now. So we hit next. Now, even though this is installing on the testec2, which is the root domain, in the Apache configuration we have it for both. I'll just show you that. Sites available. So this configuration here is the reason why, even though we install it for testec2, which is what we're doing now, because the alias is www, it's going to work. So we won't have to worry too much about that. Our database is localhost. Our username is root. We know our password. The database we created just now was Joomla. We hit next. We're going to use the default site, learn Joomla. Everything here looks good. This output buffering, we could take it off. That's a backend ANI, PHP INI file, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Just going to let this installation run. Some extra steps, remove the installation folder. Let's just check to see that that folder was in fact removed. There's no installation folder here. That's great. So this is the admin. 0 to 100, this is the home. 0 to 100, this is our site. We should be able to log in. Yes, and we're in. So let's go to the featured articles. And this is not just Joomla, but this is Joomla 0 to 100. Our web server and web site built from scratch. So just going to save and close, quit out, reload this. Joomla 0 to 100, our website and web server built from scratch. Let me see if the www has finally propagated. We can close this off. So we'll just copy this, or we can just backspace this out. Nope, it has not. www. So www has not come in as yet. Let's see if it shows in the incognito mode. Yeah, it looks like it's propagating. Propagating is finally coming through. 0 to 100, our web server. So let's go back in the normal mode. Now it should work. This is still defaulting to HTTPS. Let me see if I type it out. Yeah, let's just change that up a bit. Okay, so I just had to put in that in index.php to remove that cached value, I guess. Well, it's still there. So it's cached in my browser. That's why it's not coming up when I just enter it normally. But our site is up and running, both using the root domain and the www. So we just deployed a fully functional website content management system, ready to be changed, ready to rebrand and refresh the content. And we started off with nothing. Time now is 4:09. So that's it for this video. From zero to full website. I hope you found it informative. Like the video, subscribe. This was a good one. 0 to 100. Hope you found this informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.